Hi, this is Ms. Villasenor. We're going to be doing some math. And in this lesson, we're going to be focusing on absolute value. And there's going to be some key vocabulary words that you're going to have to know, and make sure you put them on your notes. And if I'm going too fast, you can always pause. One of the main vocabulary words that you need to know for this lesson is absolute value. And what that means is a distance from zero. And we will go over some examples of what that means. It also means that, in other words, distance from zero, you have worked on that. So it's just like you've been doing with the opposites and all that, being connected from previous lessons, but you will see how that kind of goes together with the examples. The other key vocabulary word that you're going to want to know is magnitude, because you will see that on the real world problems that you're going to be working on. And pretty much it just means the measurement of the absolute value. So how many spaces from zero? We'll start with this section here, and I'm going to show you some examples of absolute value. And as you can see on here, you have a number line, and the absolute value of 10. You will see these absolute values be written in a certain way. I'm trying to change the color here of the marker here. So you will see when they want you to find the absolute value, it will be written like this, okay, like two lines like that, and then the number in the middle. And that means what is the absolute value of 10? So on a number line, this example here shows, well, if 10's here, there are 10 spaces from 0. How many units is 10 from 0? So absolute value of 10 equals 10. Okay. Now, another thing down here, what it shows is what other number has the absolute value of 10? Well, when you see negative 10, because, with negative 10, how many spaces? 0, it's going to be 10 spaces. So it explains right here that the absolute value of negative 10 will be 10, and because there's 10 units from 0, and because negative 10 and 10 are opposite. So when they're opposites, they will have the same absolute value for the same answer for absolute value. Okay, so again, absolute value is one of your key vocabulary words that you have to know, which means the distance between the number and 0. Okay, some more examples would be, so if we see this symbol here and they want to know what's the absolute value of negative 3, means how many spaces from 0? 3. What would be the absolute value of 8.5? How many spaces from 0? 8.5. They can also show fractions. They might ask you, what's the absolute value of negative 1/2? It would be 1/2, because it would be a half a space to 0. Now, who would have these same answers? Remember, the opposites would. So this or this will give us 3. So positive 3, absolute value of positive 3, or negative 3 would be 3. Negative 8.5 absolute value, or 8.5 would give you the 8.5 answer. And then if you're going to do just the absolute value of 1/2 or negative 1/2 would be the absolute value answer would be 1/2. Why? Because remember, they are opposites and they have the same distance from 0. So you will see this symbol here, the two lines in between a number, means absolute value. Okay, so now here's some examples of some real world problems, and you would see here how the directions will say something like, for each scenario below, use absolute value to determine the magnitude. Remember, the magnitude is the space, how many from 0, so same as absolute value. So for example, like question 4, Maria was sick with the flu and her weight changed as a result of it is presented by -4 pounds. How much weight did Maria lose? And then you will see how it start off with, okay, it shows here how a -4 loss, the absolute value would equal 4. So the way this would be answered, it would say Maria lost 4 pounds. You don't say Maria lost -4 pounds. You would say the magnitude would be the spacing. You would just like the absolute value, Maria lost 4 pounds. For the next problem here, question 5, Jeffrey owes his friend $5. How much is Jeffrey's debt? So if it shows -5 absolute value, that's how much he owes. So the magnitude would be the 5 spaces from 0. So you would just, oops, wrong one. You would answer Jeffrey has a $5 debt. Now, number 6, the elevation of Niagara Falls, which is located between Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, is 300 feet. How far is this above sea level? So you see here how it is written as an absolute value. So magnitude and absolute value means the same thing. The way you would answer that, it would be wrong one. It's 326 feet above sea level. So pretty much these things are, you've been working on this already. They're just throwing the word magnitude and then connecting spaces from 0. Have you've been working with the opposites and then just adding the vocabulary word absolute value and what that means. And then like question 7, how far below 0 is -6 degrees Celsius? You see the absolute value there, the absolute value of -16 equals 16 degrees. So you would write it as -16 degrees Celsius is 16 degrees below 0. Okay, and then zooming in on question 8, Frank received monthly statements for his college savings. It is listed a deposit of $100 as of positive 100. It listed a withdrawal of $25 as a -25. The statement showed an overall ending balance of $835.50. How much money did Frank add to his account that month? How much did he take out? What is the total amount Frank has saved for college? So you can see how it shows the first number here shows the $100 from his deposit, and then it shows the -25 that he took out, but then we know that he has this balance, the absolute value balance there. So the way you would show this would be that the first statement would be that Frank added $100 to his account. That would explain the positive 100. And the next section would be Frank took $25 out of his account. You just put it in words. And the last piece would be the total amount of Frank's savings for college is $835.50. Okay, so pretty much this is your lesson, and just review that absolute value, what that means, and magnitude. They're both pretty much connected. And they mean how many spaces from 0. And remember, opposites would have the same answer. Okay, so if you have any questions, if you continue to have any more questions, make an appointment with your teacher and we could explain in more details.